So the Warriors win. They are the NBA champions, 2022 NBA Finals champions. So congratulations to the Golden State Warriors. I think during the regular season, it wasn't. I don't think it was completely inconceivable, but I think majority of everyone was saying it's going to be the Suns. It's going to be the Suns. It's going to be the Suns.
Right.
I think for majority of the year, I think it was safe to say, it kind of looked like it was going to be the Suns, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I usually don't like to take the number one seed. I hate doing that because it never usually ends up being 1 and 1. It's usually like if there is a number one seed, the other team is like the number 3 or 4 or whatever. It's just it never works out like that. Even like in college, the college tournament. So it's always like that. There's never, the top Final Four teams. They're never all number one seeds. It just never works out that way. So, I thought, out of the number one seeds, which I believe was Boston at the time and Golden State when I was thinking about it, I never thought that Boston was going to. I thought they were the more unlikely team because they are so young.
Right.
And Cody, I'm going to start there first. I'm going to start with the negative, and I think we should end with the positive because I think we're going to have a few more talking points on the positive. So I hope I don't mix it up on you. So I am sorry in advance, but I do want to bring this up. So the Celtics lost, and you and I were texting. This is not on our notes. This is kind of off the cuff here, Cody. You and I were texting. Jason Tatum was not having a good game.
Right.
He completely shut down. Jaylen Brown was kind of the guy who stepped up.
And
it was a little disheartening, at least for me. I really like Jason Tatum. I don't think he's bad. I think he is still very young. I think he is tired. But I also do feel like he's never had to come out of his shell and be the man. Like he's always had the crutch of Jaylen Brown.
Sure.
So I wanted to start with this, Cody. I think this may be overreaction, an hour away, hour past the actual game. But should the Celtics make a change for next year? Or do you think they should keep this team and continue to ride with this team?
I would keep this team intact as much as possible for a defensive purpose, but I would go out and I would find maybe a floor general type of point guard that is not afraid to score the basket, not afraid to be there defensively. I think that's what they were missing. Marcus Smart is a fantastic defensive player, but he's not a floor general. He's not someone that's like a Draymond Green-esque where he knows where everyone is supposed to be and knows everyone's assignments and kind of gets the ball rolling. One of the things about Jason Tatum, I think that was difficult is, when he would get the ball on the 3 and he's going to shoot, his release is his reloading of the ball to shoot is so long that it gives the defender an opportunity to close in on that space. And I think some of the things that Jason Tatum will have to work on is a quicker release, maybe just when he gets the ball, just getting it up faster. Jaylen Brown, I think, is somebody who they might want to look at being, a focal point, and maybe you make Tatum the ball handler primarily because Tatum with the ball, and he's a distributor, very good at that. Maybe you take the pressure off of him and to be the primary scorer. But for defensive purposes, this is what got them here is their defense. So I would keep that as much intact as possible. Re-sign Horford, do what you can to bring back Smart. Grant Williams, Robert Williams for sure needs to come back. Don't let him walk out the door. He is an anchor in your center position. But I would say that they do need some sort of third option or like I mentioned, a floor general type that's going to help get them organized, get them under control, because that's what the Warriors had. They had somebody that was under control and settled them down. Boston, once they got the turnover bug, they just couldn't kick it. And they made some small runs, but they were still shooting themselves in the foot when it came to turnovers. I mean, I think they committed something like 23 or 24 turnovers in this game, and they're 1-7 if they commit more than 15 turnovers in a game. And clearly that's what majority of their problem was a turnover bug. And I think that is because they don't have somebody that's, that type of floor general, the one that can get them organized. So that's what I would do if I were them for the offseason.
Yeah, you're right. Boston had 23 turnovers, and the Golden State Warriors had 27 points off of turnovers. So, there's a stat right there. I mean, they're getting more points than you're turning the ball over. So, which means they're converting literally more than everything that you're giving up. So that's not a recipe for success.
No.
Listen. I like the Celtics team. I do. I think the Celtics team defied all odds. They shouldn't, in my opinion, they shouldn't have been here with what they have. I mean, yes, Jason Tatum is phenomenal. Jaylen Brown is really good. But Al Horford, Marcus Smart, Robert Williams, if you would have gone into the season like that, like the Celtics did, you would kind of be like, okay, where are they getting into the playoffs? I guess the East is that weak, so you could probably make that assumption that they're at least going to get in. But I don't think a lot of people thought, first of all, they were going to have the best record in basketball at one point, and also I don't think people thought that this team could get in to the playoffs, let alone the NBA Finals. So I like this team. I think you need to give up something. And you brought up a good point that maybe Jaylen Brown shouldn't be the one to have the ball in his hands. And that's a good point, because Jaylen Brown, for all intents and purposes, is one of the worst ball handlers I've ever seen a borderline superstar be. He had 5 turnovers. I know that doesn't seem like much, but it just felt like every time he tried to drive, he lost the handle. He is one of the worst ball handlers in the NBA. And it's really weird because he's so good at scoring the ball, at driving to the bucket, making these shots. We saw today he had 34 points. He was the go-to guy for Boston. And unfortunately, it just wasn't enough. And I do feel like Jason Tatum really didn't do well. I feel like Jason Tatum just was very timid in trying to do everything. So for me, I think they do need to make a change. And I honestly, even though I'm giving a lot of praise to Jaylen Brown, I do think that you should get rid of Jaylen Brown. I do think Jason Tatum is a better overall player than Jaylen Brown. I would say Brown is probably the better defender. And obviously he's the one who stepped up in a big game 6. But I think Jason Tatum is the way to go.